Anderson Cooper 360.
CNN, weeknights at 8 and 10 Eastern.
Tonight at 360 follow on parents who take discipline too far. The latest example of video that went viral this week on YouTube. It's very disturbing. We're just going to show you a short bit of it. We warn you, it's hard to watch.
Bend over that bed.
Dad.
Bend over that bed. Bend over the bed. Bend over the bed.
The man in the video is Texas County Judge William Adams. The girl he was whipping with his belt is his daughter Hillary. She was 16 at the time, made the video in secret. This week, Judge Adams temporarily stepped down from his job. Incredibly, he presides over child abuse cases and other matters of family law. He hasn't admitted doing anything wrong, though, other than losing his temper. Hillary Adams is now 23. She came on the program last night describing her injuries from that beating 7 years ago. Did you have bruises after that?
Oh, yes. The bruises were the worst I had ever had. I had had other lashings like that, but this one produced the most bruising. And the next day, it was all up and down my legs, and he'd also hit my arms when he couldn't get to my legs.
Because he was saying it's not as bad as it looked in the tape.
I think he's in serious denial, because I told him it hurt to walk the next day, and his response was one word. He said, "Good."
Well, just days before Hillary posted her video, we told you about 13-year-old Hannah Williams, who died from hypothermia after being left outside in her yard. She was underweight, covered with bruises. Her parents are awaiting trial. They're charged with homicide by abuse. Police found a copy of a controversial parenting book in their home to train up a child, a how-to guide to disciplining kids as young as infants. It's written for fundamentalist Christians and instructs them to spank their kids with objects like plastic plumbing supply line and belts. The authors, Michael and Debbie Pearl, deny their book had anything to do with Hannah Williams' death. They told Gary Tuckman they don't advocate abusing kids, but they do endorse spanking. Spanking is the word they use, and they're not talking about a quick swat on the bottom. Gary asked them how they would punish a 70-year-old boy who slugs his sister.
Then I would take him somewhere like into his bedroom, and I would tell him I'm going to give him 15 licks.
With what?
Probably a belt. A kid that big, a boy, I'd probably use a belt. It'd be handy. I might use a wooden spoon or a piece of like plumbing supply line, a 1/4 inch in diameter, flexible enough to roll up.
Well, last week, Michael Pearl agreed to come on the program to talk about the death of Hannah Williams. He told us he can't be responsible for parents who misinterpret his book's teachings, which he says are based on the Bible. He also said science is on his side.
Research has been shown that spanking creates children that are more higher educationally, that they're less aggressive, that they are more entrepreneurial, that they in every way make better citizens when young children are spanked. That's just the statistics, just the facts.
Well, we checked the facts. It turns out Pearl was referring to research cited in an article by author Pro Bronson. I asked Pro Bronson and Dr. Drew Pinsky for their take on Pearl's claims. Drew, what do you think of this so-called biblical chastisement method of child rearing?
I think it's dangerous. I think it's problematic. Obviously, it flies in the face of everything we know about child and brain development. We know for sure that when children feel terrorized by people who are their important caretakers, A, they lose the ability to trust, and B, it shatters the upper limits of their brain's emotional regulatory system, so they lose the capacity for emotional regulation, and they exit the frame, that is to say the interpersonal frame, because they can't trust closeness anymore, that would allow for them to repair that problem of dysregulation. It is the inciting influence that causes or ignites addiction in, I would say, approaching 100% of the cases that I see. I always tell patients, if you have serious enough addiction to need to see me, there's virtually 100% probability of some sort of abandonment, abuse, terror in childhood, physical abuse being the most common.
Well, Poe, when Michael Pearl was on this show, he cited some scientific findings in support of what he calls spankings. His assistant told us that he read about them in an article that you wrote for Newsweek magazine. I want to say what Michael Pearl said on this show. Take a look at this.
Research has been shown that spanking creates children that are more higher educationally, that they're less aggressive, that they are more entrepreneurial, that they in every way make better citizens when young children are spanked. That's just the statistics, just the facts.
So Poe, is that what you wrote in your article?
Well, he's misusing some words, but the study from Portraits of American Life, 20 years of demographic data, that's waves of it which are coming in, Marjorie Gano found that children who have been spanked occasionally, not abused by any means, weren't necessarily turning out terrible. They weren't turning out worse than kids who had never been spanked. But in no possible way, Anderson, can that be flipped around. Marjorie Gano and every other social scientist and scientist who studies corporal punishment in children advocates other alternatives than spanking, that parents have choices and they should be doing something else. What they must be paying attention to is consistency and not losing your cool. As Dr. Drew said, it's the losing your cool, it's losing your temper, and rejecting your child, making them feel they are not a member of our society because of what they have done, that really causes psychological trouble for them.
So, Poe, where do you draw the line between, I mean, is there appropriate corporal punishment ever and child abuse?
Michael Pearl makes the parallel between raising an infant or raising a young child and raising a pet. And listen, nowhere in there do I know pet owners who say you should be hitting your pet with a plumbing pipe, denying your pet food, punishing your pet by leaving them out overnight. And these things don't fly, Anderson, at all.
So bottom line, there's no place for any kind of hitting.
The science is not as clear on this as people want to be clear, as people want it to be. When you're hitting with an object, when you're losing your cool when spanking your child. You know, a lot of parents even, they want to they show what's called sham anger. They're actually not truly furious, but they show fury to their kids because they want their kid to know just how wrong it was what their kid did. And even this sham anger is the wrong approach to take. Continue to reason with your child, set right from wrong, explain your reasons, and be patient. They will develop very well.
Dr. Drew, it's interesting. One of the things Pearl recommends is having a length of rubber tubing, a plumbing supply line is what he's talking about, and that you have it in various, multiple pieces of it in various rooms and in your car, and not just, as a threat to your child, but as something you can handily get. To me, that speaks to somebody wanting to, in the fit of anger, grab this thing and use it on the kid in the car or elsewhere.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like whipping an animal. It's something that as was just mentioned, you would never do. You wouldn't be surprised if a dog that you constantly whip with rubber hosing suddenly began growling, became angry, and bit. You would expect that. In the state of California, I know it's different in some states, but in the state of California, that parent would go to jail, flat out. And there's a reason. Not because we have some sort of intrinsic bias against people that strike. It's because it's harmful to kids categorically, and that's just simply the way it is. We see it, and it's not defensible. Therefore, we are going to protect the children against this unconscionable, inappropriate, and profoundly damaging approach.
Dr. Drew, Poe Bronson, appreciate you joining us. Thanks.